I never thought one night could flip my entire world upside down. But it did. If you've ever felt that sinking feeling in your chest, the kind where your instincts scream that something's off, even if you can't prove it yet, you'll understand what I went through. That night started out like any other, quiet and normal. Just dinner, a few texts, and the familiar comfort of someone you thought you knew. But by the time the sun came up, nothing about my life was the same. It all started on a Friday. I remember because I was actually looking forward to that weekend. We hadn't been spending much quality time together lately, and I was hoping that would change. My partner, Maya, had been distant for a while, not rude, just not really present. You know how it is when someone is physically there but mentally checked out? That's what it felt like. I told myself it was work stress. Long hours, too many deadlines. We all go through that, right? But deep down, I think I knew something wasn't right. We'd been together for almost 5 years. Not perfect, of course, no relationship is, but we had history. Shared vacations, late-night talks, inside jokes, the kind of bond you build slowly, over time. Or so I thought. Maybe that's why I ignored the little signs. The late replies. The sudden lock on her phone. The way she started getting dressed up just to grab coffee with a friend. I noticed all of it. But I didn't want to be the paranoid partner, the one who jumps to conclusions. I trusted her. At least, I wanted to. That Friday evening, she said she was going out for a girls' night. I didn't think twice about it. Gave her a kiss, told her to have fun, and settled into the couch with a movie and some takeout. I remember staring at my phone longer than usual, wondering if she'd text me when she got there. She didn't. Around midnight, I sent a quick "everything okay" message. No reply. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe they were dancing. Maybe her phone died. Maybe I was just being insecure. But around 2 a.m., something made me get up. I couldn't sleep. I checked her location on my phone. We'd shared it with each other years ago, just for convenience. At first, it didn't load. Then, suddenly, it popped up. And she wasn't where she said she'd be. She wasn't with her friends. She was across town, in a neighborhood that made my stomach drop. I recognized the street. It was where her coworker Liam lived, the same guy she used to talk about all the time. The same guy she'd recently stopped mentioning altogether. I sat there, frozen, staring at the screen like it would somehow change. I must have refreshed the map 10 times, hoping I'd read it wrong. But it didn't lie. She was still there. That's when I started shaking. I didn't know what to do. Should I call her? Drive over? Wait until morning and confront her then? Every possible reaction ran through my mind, but none of them felt right. My heart was racing, and I couldn't believe this was happening. I kept trying to come up with a logical explanation. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe there was some reason she was there. But my gut knew. It already knew. Hours passed. She didn't come home until just after sunrise. Her makeup was smudged, her hair messy, and she looked surprised to see me awake. I asked her how the night went. She paused for half a second, barely noticeable, unless you were really paying attention. Then she smiled, said it was great, and headed to the shower without offering much else. That pause, that tiny crack in her story, was all I needed to confirm what my heart had already figured out. What I didn't know then was that this night would lead to so much more than just a broken heart. The lies, the confrontation, the unraveling truth, it all started right there, in that one moment of quiet betrayal. And the worst part? This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about everything that came after. The choices I had to make. The secrets I uncovered. The way trust can disappear in an instant, leaving you questioning everything you thought was real. What happened next changed me forever. And if you've ever been blindsided by someone you loved, you'll understand why. But to really grasp how deep it went, what I found out, and what I had to do, you'll have to hear the rest. Because the night may have started with a suspicion, but it ended with something I never could have imagined. After that morning, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just the doubt anymore, it was the silence. The way she moved around the apartment like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't come home at sunrise from somewhere she never should have been. I watched her closely that whole weekend. I wasn't looking for a fight. I just needed answers. But instead of answers, I got more silence, more distance, and more smiles that didn't reach her eyes. We barely spoke. She was on her phone a lot, always turning the screen slightly away from me. When I asked her simple things, how her night went, who she was with, her replies were short. Just the girls. Nothing special. You know, same old. But her voice sounded rehearsed. Careful. And every word made the weight in my chest grow heavier. I didn't want to become someone I didn't recognize, snooping around, second-guessing every move. That wasn't me. I believed in privacy, in trust. But what do you do when your trust is quietly falling apart and the person next to you acts like everything's fine? I didn't want to accuse her without proof. So I started paying attention. Not obsessively, just enough to understand what I was dealing with. That's when I started remembering all the little moments I'd brushed off. The late nights at work. The sudden gym sessions. The times she said she was tired and wanted space, only to come back hours later, refreshed but distracted. I even remembered a time months earlier when I found an unfamiliar charger in her car. She said it was her friend's. I didn't ask which friend. I just believed her. I didn't want it to be true. But the signs were piling up. Still, I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. I needed clarity. Closure. Maybe even a way out if things got worse. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I logged into her old laptop. We used to share it before we both upgraded to newer ones. She rarely touched it anymore. I told myself I was just going to check the calendar or maybe her emails. Something simple. Nothing invasive. But what I found wasn't what I expected. The laptop was mostly empty. No photos. No messages. Except for one document, buried deep in a folder named Work Notes. When I opened it, it was nothing like work. It was a list of passwords. Notes. Names. Conversations. Some of them were dates and locations. At first, it didn't make sense. But one name kept showing up as Liam. And next to it were little comments. Things like, dinner Friday, make excuse, or ask him about trip, don't forget story. It wasn't clear what it all meant, but it didn't feel innocent. I closed the laptop, heart pounding. My thoughts were racing. Was this what I thought it was? A plan? A cover-up? It didn't feel like I had real proof yet, but the way it made me feel, that gut punch, that swirl of fear and anger, it told me something deeper was going on. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. If what I suspected was true, it had been happening for a while. And that realization hurt more than anything. That night, she came home late again. Said she had a work call that ran long. I nodded, pretending to believe her. But my mind was already somewhere else. Planning. Watching. Wondering what the next move should be. I wasn't sure if I should call her out, try to talk, or just disappear. Every option felt wrong. Every choice felt like it would lead to more pain. The worst part was how normal everything looked on the outside. We still shared a bed. Still made small talk about groceries and weekend plans. But under the surface, everything was crumbling. I couldn't stop imagining where she really was when she wasn't with me. I kept picturing her and Liam, together, laughing, building something behind my back. And the more I thought about it, the more it consumed me. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of her breathing beside me. She looked so peaceful, like none of this was real. But I couldn't escape it. I was living in it. And even though I hadn't said a word yet, I knew something was coming. A breaking point. A moment where everything would come out, whether I was ready or not. Because the truth? The real, raw truth? I wasn't just dealing with betrayal. I was watching my entire life, everything I built with her, start to collapse in slow motion. And the scariest part was knowing this was only the beginning. A few days passed, but everything felt different. I started carrying this invisible weight with me everywhere, at work, in traffic, even in moments that should have felt normal, like making coffee or folding laundry. It was like I was stuck in some in-between space, pretending life was still intact, while quietly bracing for it to fall apart. I didn't bring it up to anyone, not even my closest friends. I was too embarrassed, too unsure of what was real and what was just suspicion. I kept asking myself, what if I'm wrong? Still, I couldn't ignore the growing signs. Maya had started spending more time out of the house, sometimes for errands that didn't make sense or hangouts with people she never used to mention. I began writing things down. Times, places, little things she said. Not to trap her, but because I needed clarity. I felt like I was being gaslit by my own reality. I'd go back over our old photos, our texts from happier days, trying to figure out when things started shifting. Was there a moment I missed? A sign I overlooked? One day, something strange happened. I got a DM from someone I didn't know, a woman named Talia. It was short. Just one sentence, I think you deserve to know what's going on. At first, I thought it was spam. But curiosity got the better of me. I replied, asking what she meant. A few hours later, she sent a photo. It was grainy, taken from a distance, but clear enough. Maya. Sitting across from a man at an outdoor cafe. His face wasn't visible, but I knew the shape of it. The posture. It was Liam. Talia told me she worked at the same company. Said she'd seen them together more than once, and that Maya wasn't exactly subtle. She didn't say anything else, just left me with that. I sat with it for hours, replaying everything in my head. If even part of it was true, then this wasn't just about cheating, it was about lies woven into every part of my life. Trust, loyalty, the future we talked about, it all felt like it was built on sand. But even as the evidence grew, a part of me still clung to doubt. Not because I believed her anymore, but because I didn't want to believe I'd been so blind. That I'd given my heart to someone who didn't think twice before breaking it. And then, there was the question that kept eating at me, why? Why did she do this? Was it me? Did she fall out of love? Was it ever real? Meanwhile, something else started happening. A different kind of conflict. I found myself pulling away from people who cared about me. I stopped replying to texts, skipped hangouts, even avoided my own family. It's like I didn't want anyone to see the mess I'd become. The fear, the shame, the quiet desperation to hold it together. I didn't want to be the guy who got cheated on. I didn't want to be the story people whispered about. But the story was unfolding whether I liked it or not. And deep down, I knew it was leading somewhere I couldn't avoid. The truth was creeping closer. And I was starting to realize, it might destroy more than just the relationship. It might change everything. The days that followed felt like walking on a tightrope, every step uncertain, every breath heavy. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Maya's presence in the apartment felt like a shadow hanging over me. We were in the same space, but everything between us was broken in a way I couldn't fix with words or apologies. I kept thinking about the messages, the secret meetings, the lies she told me without ever saying a word. How long had this been going on? How many moments had I missed, believing everything was okay? I started noticing more things, the way her phone would buzz and she'd quickly hide the screen, the way her eyes darted whenever I came near. I felt like a stranger in my own life. The laughter we used to share was gone, replaced by silence so loud it crushed me. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but every time I opened my mouth, the words caught in my throat. Fear wasn't just about what she did, it was about what would come next. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the unknown. One night, I found myself standing outside Liam's building. I didn't know why I was there. Maybe to confirm the truth or just because my mind was spiraling out of control. I watched from the shadows as Maya walked out, her face unreadable. When she saw me, she didn't look surprised or guilty. She just nodded, like she expected me. That moment, standing there in the cold, with everything laid bare, was the breaking point. The moment when the silence finally screamed. I knew I had to face her. To stop pretending, stop hiding. But what I didn't know was how deep the wound went, or how much it would hurt. The truth was coming, and there was no turning back. Everything I believed, everything I held on to, was about to be tested like never before. Just when I thought I was ready for the conversation that would change everything, something happened that I never saw coming. After that cold night outside Liam's building, I decided to wait. To let her explain. To hear the truth from her own lips. But instead of answers, I got a silence heavier than ever. Maya started avoiding me even more, slipping away into a world I wasn't invited to. It was like the distance had grown so wide, no amount of talking could bridge it. Then one evening, as I was going through some of her things, something I swore I wouldn't do, I found a hidden envelope tucked inside an old book. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were photos. Not just any photos, but pictures of me and Maya from months ago. Smiling, holding hands, living what looked like a perfect life. But there was more, notes written on the back of some pictures. Dates, places, and one word that hit me like a punch: plan. It was then I realized this wasn't just about betrayal. There was something else at play. Something far more complicated. Maya hadn't just been hiding an affair. She'd been planning something, for me, for us, for the future I thought we shared. But why keep it secret? Why go through all this without telling me? The more I dug, the more I uncovered. Phone records showing calls to unknown numbers. Texts deleted before I could see them. And then a voicemail, left accidentally, where Maya's voice wasn't hers alone. Another woman's voice echoed in the background. Confused and hurt, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies, and every time I thought I'd reached the bottom, the floor fell out from beneath me. The stakes weren't just about infidelity anymore. This was a web of secrets that threatened everything I thought I knew. And the closer I got to the truth, the more I realized I wasn't just fighting to save a relationship, I was fighting to save myself from a reality I wasn't prepared to face. I confronted Maya the next evening, the envelope and photos burning a hole in my pocket. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. When I finally faced her, the tension between us was unbearable, words caught in my throat, questions crowding my mind. I asked about the affair, the secret meetings, the lies. For a long moment, she just looked at me, eyes tired but steady. Then she began to speak, slowly, carefully, revealing a side of the story I never expected. The truth wasn't what I thought. Maya confessed that the whole situation with Liam was more complicated than cheating. She had been trying to protect me from something else, something dangerous. Liam wasn't just a coworker or a fling. He was involved in a difficult situation that threatened us both. The plan in those photos was a plan to keep me safe, to create a way out if things got worse. It felt like the ground shifted beneath me. Betrayal, yes. But also love twisted by fear and desperation. Maya was caught between her loyalty to me and the dangerous secrets she couldn't share. The late nights, the lies, they were her way of shielding me, not hurting me. Just when I thought I understood everything, the final twist hit me hard. As Maya handed me a phone, she told me to listen to one last voicemail, the one she hadn't told me about. It was Liam's voice, clear and urgent, warning her that someone close to us was watching, waiting, and that trust was more fragile than ever. The story wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about survival, secrets, and choices none of us were prepared to make. And suddenly, the real fight was just beginning. After hearing that voicemail, everything felt different. The fear, the uncertainty, the pain, they all made sense in a way I hadn't expected. Maya wasn't just hiding a secret affair, she was caught in a web of complicated choices to protect both of us. It wasn't easy to accept, and the betrayal still stung deeply. But understanding her reasons changed how I saw everything. It wasn't just about infidelity, it was about trust, survival, and the messy realities behind what people don't always say. We spent hours talking that night, laying everything out in the open. No more lies, no more hiding. It wasn't a perfect conversation, and there were still wounds to heal, but it was a start. Sometimes, love isn't about being flawless, it's about facing the hard truths together and deciding if the bond is worth fighting for. In the days that followed, I took time to reflect on what really mattered. The pain from betrayal was real, but so was the strength to rebuild. I learned that relationships are fragile, but with honesty and patience, even the deepest cracks can be mended. Maya and I weren't sure what the future held, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's this: trust is the foundation of any relationship, but sometimes the hardest truths reveal the strongest bonds. Life doesn't come with guarantees, but how we face the unexpected defines us. And sometimes, one night can change your life forever, but it doesn't have to end the way you think. 5.